Hi everyone, welcome to week 3 of your Math for the Medical Environment course. This week we're going to be covering section 4. Section 4 is all about percent, interest, and averages, and we're going to be covering units 17, 18, and 19. So the first part of unit 17 is kind of giving you the definition of what a percent is, and then how to convert a percent to a decimal to a percent, and a percent to a fraction. So the first several slides that you're going to see this week is all of those particular steps. Now the word percent itself means per hundred. So for example, they give you here 20% means 20 out of 100. If we had 85%, that would be 85 parts out of 100 parts. If we had 13%, it would be 13 parts out of 100 parts. So when we talk about a percent, it's telling us how many parts out of 100. So the first thing that they're going to discuss in Unit 17 is how to change a percent to a decimal fraction. Now, remember, decimal fraction is simply another way of saying a decimal. So to change a percent to a decimal, we're going to be moving the decimal point 2 places to the left, and the percent sign goes away. So the example that they give you in your book on page 115, 28%, there's no decimal point there. But you need to assume that the decimal point is at the end of the whole number. Then you can move it to the left 2 places and drop the percent. Notice they also put a 0 in front of that decimal. It's very important that you show that 0 in front of a decimal point so you don't miss that decimal point. We don't want to overlook it, especially when we're doing calculations involving medications. That can be very, very detrimental. Then the next step is going the opposite direction, going from a decimal to a percent. So it's the opposite of what we just did. So to go from a decimal to a percent, we're going to move the decimal 2 places to the right, and we're going to tack that percent sign on the end. So if we had 0.5, for example, we're going to move it 2 to the right. Now there's nothing there, so it's going to be point moving to the right once. We can do that. Moving to the right again, we're going to have to add that 0. So 0.5 is going to become 50%. So if you need to move more places than what's there, you're adding a 0, and then again that percent sign goes at the end. The next discussion in this section is all about how to change a percent to a common fraction. And so what that means is putting it into fraction notation. So the example at the bottom of page 115 is really great. We're first going to change it to a decimal, and then we're going to put it over some power of 10. So if you look at 40.8, first we're changing it to a decimal, so 0.408, and then we're going to put it over the appropriate power of 10. So in this case, since the 8 is in the thousandths place, it's 408 over 1000. And at that point, then you're just going to reduce things to the lowest terms. So those are the different things that you're going to be learning in our unit 17 of section 4. Then you're going to also be using that information then to calculate percents or rates. And when we talk about a percent as a rate, it's the part out of the whole. And the one thing I want to make sure to point out to you when you're looking through this, and let's just skip on to an example on number 9, is some of these words. The word is means equals. The word of means times. So when you're getting ready to put this into an equation, you're going to start with the what. The what is the question mark, the piece you're looking for. In this case, they wrote the word percentage. So the piece you're missing is means equals 150%, 150% of means times 638. So now you can see that they changed that percent to a decimal, and then they did the math to solve. So make sure that you make a note of what those words mean. Is and of are going to be very key in how to solve some of these sample problems as you go through here. Unit 18 is all about interest and discounts. Probably the most used thing that you're going to be doing here is not necessarily calculating simple and compound interest, although they do tell you about that and what that means, but instead it's going to be calculating a discount. So a discount is the actual amount of money that you're going to deduct from a cost. And the rate is going to be how much that is. So that's what this particular section is all about, is discounts and interest. The final unit is on averages and estimates. An average is when you add them all up and divide by how many you have. So an average is a number that is representative of that group of numbers. So when we think about an average, it means adding them all together and then dividing by how many we have. So that's what an average is all about. And then an estimate is just what it sounds like. We're going to estimate what a particular score might be. We might be estimating a patient's weight, things like that. So they're going to talk to you a little bit about how to estimate and what's the best method of estimating. So that's what the last particular unit in this section is all about. If at any time you have questions this week, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I'd be happy to go over any topic in more detail with you, and have a great week.